breaking news, front page news, trending topics. All the news coverage publicized the expression, "Did Diddy do it?" and "Tell Diddy no." These expressions have become the latest joke or trendy catchphrase of 2024. In November 2023, plaintiff Cassandra Cassie Ventura filed a major lawsuit against alleged defendant Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, on SA charges. The inside details of the legal documents filed against Mr. Combs was traumatic and astounding. For over 2.5 decades, we have known Mr. Combs performing on stage, producing music, and designing designer clothes. However, this scandalous lawsuit sent shockwaves throughout the entertainment industry. Here are my thoughts. Why would Diddy, who rose from humble beginnings and later became a young billionaire, throw it all away for his lustful cravings, debauchery, needing to practice power, and control? Today we will examine Mr. Combs' behavior with a historical perspective related to his lascivious thirst and dominance over others. We will start off by saying there is nothing new under the sun. Before there was a P. Diddy and his FOs, there was a 17th century French nobleman named Marquis de Sade. His name gave rise to the word sadistic, a person who enjoyed inflicting pain on others. Let's not forget, before these two disturbed men existed, there were other predecessors that made scandalous news throughout history, like emperors Nero and Caligula of the Roman Empire. Last but not least, we must mention Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, a Hollywood silent film star, film director, screenwriter, and comedian in the early 1920s. He also mentored Charlie Chaplin, Bob Hope, and Buster Keaton. Months after the original lawsuit, music fans later were shocked and horrified by a mysterious video footage released showing images of a hotel hallway and barefoot Cassie violently being attacked by Sean Combs while she was desperately trying to escape the hotel suite. Who knows what Cassie endured prior to her fleeing the scene, and once captured by Diddy, what she'd suffer due to her failed attempt to escape. Marquis de Sade's story is so frighteningly similar to Mr. Combs' current fiasco. It encouraged me to write and produce this video. Let's explore the making of a sadist, what it is, who is, and how it evolves, the reason why, and what possesses a person to become a sadist. Donatien Alphonse Francois, later better known as Marquis de Sade, was born in 1740, Paris, France. De Sade was a distant relative to King Louis XV of France, aka the Sun King. There are paintings of him in many museums around the Western world. I had the pleasure of seeing one of them. Let's continue. His father was a special skilled European dragoon captain who fought on horseback with a sword and firearm. This is likened to a special ops soldier. Desaad's mother was a lower royalty who served in Odelle de Condé Bourbon, which is an aristocrat branch of families in Paris. As a temperamental small child, Desaad was said to have gotten into an aggressive fight with a young playmate within the court, who also happened to be a young prince. As punishment, Desaad was later sent away to live with his grandmother in the south of France. Desaad became a handful for his grandmother to care for. His uncle, who was a lord, eventually sent for him to reside with him. Meanwhile, Desaad's uncle was known to have been a bit of a liberal streak, and as a result, Desaad was heavily influenced by his uncle's philosophy and antics. In the late 1700s, Desaad's parents unfortunately fell out of favor within the royal court circles. Desaad's father fell into financial hardship, thus creating an unbearable life in which he failed to keep his marriage together. Thereupon, sending his wife to a church convent to become a nun. As Desaad matured, the thought of his mother being taken away to live in a church convent created mixed feelings regarding his father, religion, and the church. I could imagine this stirring up a lot of anger in Desaad. Let's continue. The combination of all these personal setbacks resulted in Desaad falling into a debilitating mental breakdown. With attention to all the major changes Desaad faced, his father now penniless, his mother spending the rest of her years in a convent, Desaad is now a young man of 13 years and must eventually carve out a future for himself. Back then, young men were already considered old enough to be a man. Let's continue. During the mid to late 1700s, there was small talk and whispers about a new philosophy called libertarianism, which means the belief in anti-authoritarian and anti-state. Very few people in Europe talked openly about this new concept during the 1700s due to the strict political laws and religious morals, codes of conduct, especially related to the church. In 1754, Desaad, now 14 and still living with his mother's family, is now enrolled in a Jesuit college in Paris. He gained a decent education and was a smart student. However, because of his propensity for rebellion, he was constantly ordered by the school authorities to receive harsh corporal punishment. As a result, his stay there was short-lived. Welcome to the Thought Cafe. I just ordered a delicious warm butter croissant. In the meantime, let's discuss the backdrop to the libertarianism philosophy. A person who lives by these practices is called a libertine. The definition for libertarianism is the expansion of individual autonomy, civil rights, and political freedom. Now, at this moment in Desaad's life, he had been exposed to this philosophy by his uncle. For centuries, the church in Europe kept a strict stronghold on the people. As a result, the conception of libertarianism was conceived. Libertarianism took off during the 17th, 18th, and 19th century in France and Great Britain. It is also important to mention, in the mid-1700s, Europe was experiencing a cultural shift with the birth of the Enlightenment era. In addition, France was on the brink of a revolution. But with most new cultural shifts, there's always extremists. Without moral and fair civic laws or safe measures, there is a dark pendulum swing to push back at the current established norms, which is relative, by the way. Provided that we have the libertine, a person described today as a heathenist. My croissant is getting cold, so let's get back to our story. That same year in 1754, de Sade was sent to a French military academy. That following year, at the age of 15, he was promoted to become the king's foot guard. France was at war with Great Britain and later continued the war in North America. The war extended into years and is known for what we call today the 7-Year War. As mentioned previously, de Sade was proven to be an intelligent soldier. I bet he struggled with following commands from authority. Soon after de Sade's return from the army, he overindulged in a few reckless gambling activities. He mindlessly placed bets on the family's palace in exchange for cash. De Sade was carelessly squandering off money like there was no tomorrow. As a result, gambling caused the family estate to go into delinquency, which later caused them to file for bankruptcy. Now remember, at this time, the family fell out of favor financially with their extended royal family. So it appears this reality did not register for de Sade. De Sade, now in his early 20s, began to wallow in the libertarianism lifestyle and now leaning towards atheism. Excessive spending, low morals, and liaison with prostitutes were not uncommon within these circles in those days. De Sade's father, now an elderly man, arranged a marriage for his son with a young noble lady by the name of Renée Pélagie. Renée was a debutante from a noble French family. His father's hopes to marry off de Sade to an aristocrat bride would aid his son to live a healthier lifestyle. Moreover, de Sade's new bride, born from wealth in a bourgeois family, was an additional asset to consider. Months after the war, in the later year of 1763, at age 22, de Sade and Renée married. Years later, the couple went on to have 3 children. Meanwhile, de Sade, at the age of 27, was crowned a Marquis, which is a special title in Europe. Hence the name Marquis de Sade. Marquis de Sade and Renée's union were blessed by his father and his distant relative, King Louis XV of France. However, time wore on, and as the veneer of the marriage wore thin, de Sade's urge to mingle in libertine spaces began to run thick. De Sade's past returned to haunt him. Months after de Sade and Renée's wedding, de Sade was involved in his first of many scandalous affairs that rendered him into serious legal problems. De Sade rented out an apartment in Paris and hired a prostitute named Jeanne Testard for the night. The night began to feel creepy almost instantly. Jeanne was so frightened by what she had experienced that night, she immediately ran to the authorities the following morning. The woman claimed de Sade began to behave in depraved and lewd, violent behavior towards her. He locked her inside the apartment, refusing to let her flee. However, she managed to escape. Sound eerily familiar. She also claimed that she witnessed him perform blasphemous acts. So while doing research on this topic, I discovered The things he performed on unsuspecting Gian are too horrific to mention even on this platform. Let's continue. Weeks later, Desaad was sentenced to prison near Paris. So far, in this story above, I have noticed some similarities with Marquis Desaad's character and Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy's behavior. There seems to be parallels to their upbringing. Children who suffer from severe trauma in their childhood due to major changes in family dynamics can result in conditions such as child neglect that may cause poor development in their decision-making abilities. It is important to note the experiences of both men losing a parent or parents during their primary years is devastating. The most compelling evidence is the exposure to provocative adult content, themes, and situations. This could permanently affect the frontal lobe of young developing minds. Children should never be exposed to this kind of world. Whew, that's a lot. Who knows what Desaad's uncle introduced him to, or Diddy's mother during the days when she was a madame, and consequently all the dark energy the vulnerable child was surrounded around. It's sort of like the opening of Pandora's box. Thank you for viewing the Marquis Desaad and Diddy biography and lifestyle comparison. This video almost went down a dark rabbit hole. Throughout the video, you heard a lot of my thoughts. What were your thoughts about either man, their upbringing, and later the lifestyle they espoused? Part 2 will be landing soon. Please leave a like, comment, share, hit the notification bell so when I upload another video, you will be notified. As always, because everyone has a story. Ciao.